Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another episode. The first thing is always, I hope everyone's well, but doesn't it feel good? Such a nice feeling when Newcastle United win a football game, especially when we do it in style. When you wake up the next day, the air feels fresher, the grass is greener, like it's just a wonderful moment. I've got a smile on my face, and no doubt you have, so you should hit the like button just for that reason alone. But of course, Newcastle United 4-1 winners over Bradford in the EFL Cup last night. The defence to our EFL Cup starts here. And what a way to do it. 2 goals from Osula, 2 goals from Jolinton, and a real professional performance. So in this episode, we are going to be breaking it all down. And I'm going to be honest, guys, I haven't done much writing for this episode because I really want to break down the goals because I thought we were excellent last night. There were some passages of play that were really, really impressive. And to be honest, this is something we haven't seen all season. But last night, we looked like the Newcastle United of last season. So I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on the game. Then I'm going to speak about some individual players, and then we're going to be breaking down the goals and our shape and how we look dangerous and really how we pose Bradford a lot of problems. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, it's only Bradford, calm down. Look, I'm not getting too carried away, but you can only beat what's in front of you. Last night, we did it in style. It was a very, very important victory. It was a performance in a victory that we needed. And to see William Osula grab 2 goals, I couldn't be happier for the guy. So just before we begin, we were drawn against Tottenham at home in the 4th round. And to be honest, I don't mind it. Would I prefer a team in the lower divisions? Absolutely. But I'll say it again. It's St. James's Park. I fancy us against anybody. So when the lineups come out, this was my first thought. Tonight was a huge opportunity for William Osula. And the reason being is because he's now playing against regular starters. So I fully expected him to get more space, more service. And that's exactly what happened. I think Eddie Howe showed a statement of intent tonight. He really went strong. He wants a good defence to this title. Ramsdale came in a goal over Nick Pope. Emil Kraft started at right back. It was a centre-back partner of Malik Chow and Sven Botman, Lewis Hall at left back, midfield 3 of Jolinton, Bruno and Lewis Miley, Langer on the right, Gordon on the left, and William Osula as the striker. Now I know it was only Bradford, but you can't underestimate that win. Newcastle United needed a little bit of feel-good factor, and that's exactly what we got last night. The players look fresh, the players look hungry, and I said in my preview, if we go 1-0 up, I want us to try and go 2-0 up, 3-0 up, 4-0 up. The reason being is because when you win in style, it brings confidence, and I think that victory last night would have done the players the world of good going into Arsenal on the weekend. If we had looked flat, maybe scraped a 1-0 victory, psychologically that could have had an impact on the players. So it was such an important victory. So this is what Eddie Howe had to say on William Osula. It was a slightly turbulent end to the transfer window for William Osula. Slowly but surely he's improving his game. It wasn't just his goals tonight, it was his hold-up play, his wing play. He's done his chances. Starting in the Premier League, no harm. And he's absolutely right. I thought William Osula was brilliant today, and I thought the biggest difference with William Osula was his maturity. He was starting to begin to make the right decisions. Okay, it didn't come off all the time, but he was putting himself into dangerous areas, making himself nuisance, showing for the ball when needed. Now, what I really did like about William Osula was his movement. And we're going to be breaking that down because I've seen a lot of people give Bruno credit for the pass for William Osula's opening goal. And rightly so. Bruno's pass was magnificent. The way to pass was on point and he put it on a plate for William Osula. However, something I always say, William Osula's movement dictated Bruno's pass. That first goal from William Osula, a lot of top strikers in the world would have been proud of that movement. Now I'm going to break down exactly what I mean. And I always say pace and movement killing football. And last night against Bradford, we had a lot of pace and movement, and Bradford couldn't really cope with those. But it looked like against Bradford, we're starting to get those connections right. We're seeing a massive difference in possession than we did against Bournemouth, Villa or Leeds. It was a lot more bright and positive, and that's exactly what you want to see. So those words from Eddie Howe, a really big vote of confidence for William Osula. Now William Osula's starting to think, yeah, I fit in here. I can mix it with the big boys. And I've always said this about William Osula. He's got the profile. He's got the speed. He's got the physicality. He's got the technical ability. He's comfortable on both feet. Just needs to understand the game a little bit more. And when you've got a manager like Eddie Howe, who has got a track record of improving players, I'm actually low-key a little bit pleased that William Osula stuck around. He also had some nice words about Lewis Miley, and I think this is important. Last night was a really big and important night for Lewis Miley because against Bournemouth, he faced some harsh criticism from the fan base. And Eddie Howe went on to say, I thought Louis was excellent. He really helped us in the first half. Some lovely deft touches and short passes into midfield, using Bruno and Joe as a springboard to control the midfield. He's developing all the time and I'm really pleased for him. Do you know what? I'm happy for Lewis Miley. I'm happy he was able to showcase exactly what he can bring to this team. Last night, what it made us think about was Lewis Miley was like the metronome in midfield, that deep line playmaker, and that having his presence and his ability in possession and that composure, that dictatorship with the ball allowed Bruno and Joelinton to get into more advanced areas. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes. And apart from the little lack of concentration when he gave the ball away for their goal, Lewis Miley was excellent. And speaking on their goal, before I continue with this episode, I just want to give credit to Andy Cook. What a dream come true for that lad. Imagine you're playing in the lower leagues and you get drawn against your boyhood club away from home. You're dreaming about scoring at St. James's Park. So although I didn't want us to concede, if we were going to concede, I'm happy it was for a Newcastle United fan, because that is a moment that he will never ever forget. So I'll say it again. Winning breeds confidence and becomes a habit. Now we need to start getting it back into that winning habit. I thought as a team, as a unit, we played some excellent football. Now say it again, we look more like the Newcastle United of last season. Some crisp passing, one-touch plays, good combinations, moving, supporting each other in and out of possession. We're pressed with intent. And you don't beat the lower league opposition by 4 goals or 3 goals without the application. And I thought it was a real big professional performance from our boys. And I've said this multiple times. Our 4-3-3 shape is so effective against the 3 at the back, and we caused them so many problems last night. So what I enjoyed the most from last night, it was a real professional performance from the lad, doing the basics right, but also taking risks at the right times. Don't go anywhere, because we are going to break down the goals, but I want to speak about some individual performances. And to be honest, I could probably sit here and speak about every single player, because I don't think anyone was bad. Some people weren't great, but I thought some people really did stand out. And in fact, I'm going to speak about them all, because I thought Aaron Ramsdale played well in goal. He was unlucky to concede, and he would probably sit there and say, I didn't want to concede, but I actually thought he commanded his area well. He looked comfortable and he really fitted in, and it looked like he had good chemistry with the back four in front of him. And speaking of the back four, we had Emil Kraft at right back. Now I'm going to be honest, Emil Kraft looked one step behind everybody else, but again, he wasn't bad. He's an experienced footballer. Now the only issue about having Emil Kraft as right back is he doesn't give you that forward option. He's not so comfortable in those advanced areas, but you know what? He wasn't bad. He just kept things simple. And that's probably what you expect with Emil Kraft. And then speaking about Sven Botman and Milik Chow, I thought again, so comfortable. It feels nice to know that we've got 2 players that are so composed in possession, wanting to play forwards to start attacks off for us. Now those 2 are starting to give Eddie Howe a headache. So I don't expect Fabian Schär to be fit for Arsenal, but yet again, I don't think Eddie Howe will drop somebody like Dan Burn. So I've got a question for you guys, because I'm going to bring out my preview tomorrow. Do you think Eddie Howe will play with a back 5 against Arsenal? If not, which 2 centre-backs out of those 3 start against Arsenal? But it's nice to have options, isn't it? And to be honest, I don't think Milik Chow or Sven Botman put a foot wrong. 2 Rolls-Royce defenders, and say it quietly, but Sven Botman's starting to become to his best. And the reason why I say it quietly, because I don't want him to get injured again, but it's so pleasing to see us have options in the centre-back position. Another run out for Lewis Hall. He's such a good player. Just think he's only 20 and he's this good. And you can see against Bournemouth, he was a little bit rusty at first, but you can still see he's starting to build, get into his rhythm. He's starting to build that momentum, and that's exactly what you want to see from Lewis Hall. So good to have him back, because he gives us options again. Now we can play Tino at right back, and we still get that dynamism on the left-hand side. But do you know what impresses me the most about Lewis Hall? How comfortable he is with the ball at his feet, even in central areas. So if we ever do want to invert a fullback, we can certainly do that with Lewis Hall. Then there was Bruno, Joelinton, and Lewis Miley in the middle of the pitch, and I thought those 3 were excellent. They were always creating that overload. That's exactly what I was talking about in my preview. We always had that spare option. But do you know what I loved the most? Is the understanding of each other's roles. Lewis Miley was the one coming deep, getting on the ball. And then you were having Joelinton and Bruno finding pockets of space. And the biggest difference with Lewis Miley from the Bournemouth game to this game, when he was getting the ball, he was getting his head up and he had multiple of options. Gordon was coming in off the left wing. Bruno was getting into pockets of space. So was Joelinton. Anthony Elanga was providing width. William Osula was running in behind. And that's the difference. The reason why Lewis Miley was so safe against Bournemouth, because he didn't have the movement around him. And this is a point I'm trying to make out. Then it was good to see Anthony Gordon back on the left-hand side. To be honest, I thought he looked sharp. Not everything come off for him, but his movement was causing Bradford so many problems. Anthony Elanga is a tough one, because I still think he's trying to find his feet, and it's obvious, you can see that. Nothing is coming natural to him. Looks like he's overthinking things at times. But again, I'll show you in one of the clips. He is getting himself into dangerous areas, which I like. And then I thought William Osula was brilliant. Antonio, stop the talking. Let's just break down the goals and just get excited about what we're seeing last night. So let's actually do that. The first thing I want to do is look at the first opening minutes of the game and look at us in possession, because if Eddie Howe sees this picture, he's probably sitting there thinking, that is so beautiful. Because in the first opening minutes is exactly how Newcastle United set up in possession. And it looks like this. Now, look at the difference of this and then what you see in Bournemouth. What's the biggest difference? We've got players in the final third. We've got players in pockets of space. So when Bruno or whoever gets a ball in those central areas looks up, he now has options. And it's beautiful. And this is everything Newcastle United want to do in possession when they play in a 4-3-3. And it's everything I've spoke about in previous episodes. One of the midfielders goes and finds pockets of space. This time it's Joe Linton because Bruno's on the ball. Usually it's Bruno, but because Bruno's on the ball, Joe Linton's thought, I need to get in behind that midfield just in front of the defence so I can cause some problems. What does Anthony Gordon do? Comes inside, supports attacks. What does William Osula do? He pins the centre-backs back. What does Lewis Hall do? He gets high and wide to provide the width. What does Anthony Elanga do? He provides a width on the right-hand side. How many times have I spoken about this passage of play in previous episodes? Because this Eddie Howe will look at this and think, this is what I want. This is exactly what we've been working on the training pitch. And I think that set the tone, because when the midfielders receive possessions, they're now looking up and there's options, there's overlaps, there's underlaps, there's people in pockets of space. And this is how you cause teams problems. Movement in football kills. Once you create movement, it really disrupts the opposition's defensive shape. And throughout the game, we've seen this sort of thing time and time again. So when Eddie Howe breaks the game down to the boys, this is exactly what you'll be shown. And you'll be saying, I want this more and more. And you can see when you play with your regular starters that it's so much natural for them to get into this position. But if we talk about the opening goal, what do you see there? We have 5 players in the 18-yard box and 2 players 19 yards from goal. We never seen that against Aston Villa, against Leeds, against Bournemouth. So it's so pleasing to see that Eddie Howe has now given them the license to get in the box. Now, this opening goal was a bit fortunate because Anthony Gordon had a shot from the outside the box and it ricocheted and fell lovely to Joe Linton, but take nothing away from the finish. Just a nice little deft-touched controller ball, which opened up the space, and he just found the bottom corner so beautifully. But this is what I was talking about, getting more goals from our midfielders. And the only way you do that is by getting them in the box. So that is really pleasing. Now, this is where it gets fun, because let's break down William Osula's first goal, our second goal, because what's the first thing you notice here when Lewis Miley receives the ball off Joe Linton? Takes a touch out to his feet forwards, but again, he's got options. I'm going to take my head out the way. You've got Anthony Gordon already looking to make a run. You've got Bruno looking for space, and you've got Anthony Elanga in advanced options. If you rewatch that Bournemouth game, when we were receiving the ball in these positions, you only had Nick Voltemurda. This is what I'm talking about. So if I move the clip on just slightly, this is beautiful. I want you to focus on William Osula and Anthony Gordon specifically. But what I like about Bruno here, he finds a pocket of space. And again, this is what I was talking about, that overload in the central areas. Because Joe Linton and Lewis Miley have baited their 2 midfielders, which give a degree of freedom to Bruno. This is why the 4-3-3 is so effective against 3 at the back. But I want you to focus on William Osula, because at the minute here, he doesn't look interested. He doesn't look like he's going to run in behind. But Anthony Gordon's movement here opens up the space for William Osula. Because Anthony Gordon, this is what we didn't have against Bournemouth. Players running in behind, players moving into space. Because that's where you kill in football. But look at Anthony Gordon's movement here. He drags that last centre-back towards him. That opens up the space for William Osula. Now, William Osula's awareness is sharp enough to move into that space. But if William Osula doesn't make that run, Bruno doesn't make that pass. So again, it's the movement off the ball that dictates the pass. Now, the way to pass from Bruno is excellent. The timing of the run from William Osula is excellent. I don't think many teams defend against this. We have this sequence of play against Arsenal. We still score that goal for 2 reasons, because we moved the ball quickly, it was all one touch in play, and the movement off the ball opens up the space. So again, even though Anthony Gordon is not involved in the play, his movement is crucial to opening up that space. And this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes you make a run without even wanting the football. That run allows you to create an opportunity. And William Osula, gets you on goal, nice and composed under the goalkeeper, beautiful finish. And I think that's where William Osula is at his most dangerous in transition moments. Now again, nothing come of this moment, but I just want to show you the passage of play here, because you've got Anthony Gordon receiving the ball in central areas, but he's got three options in advanced areas. You've got Joe Linton again picking up a pocket of space, but Anthony Elanga's come inside because he knows Emil Kraft is providing the width. That's really intelligent. That's how you cause problems. Again, nothing come of this. We created a chance. I think Osula hit the target, but the goalkeeper saved it. So we didn't actually score from this. But again, this is what I'm talking about, getting bodies in advanced areas in that final third. And I'm going to show you another example of this where we don't score, but we do create an opportunity. Look at where Lewis Miley receives a ball here. What's he doing? He's got his head up and he's looking forwards. If he was a safe passer and side-to-side passer, he would actually pass that ball just to Emil Kraft on his right-hand side. But he wants to play forward. Reason being, because he's got bodies in advanced areas. He's got Joe Linton to play to. He's got Bruno to play to. He can even play to Anthony Elanga. But no, he spots the run of Osula. Now again, we don't score from this sequence of play. Osula hits a target. The goalkeeper saves it. But again, we're creating opportunities because we're getting bodies forward. But if you look at Anthony Gordon, Lewis Hall, they're all in advanced areas. This is exactly what we need to see more of throughout the season. And if we have a look at where our third goal comes from, Joe Linton scored this third goal. It's third man runs, deep runners from midfield. How often have I spoke about having deep runners from midfield? Because Gordon receives a ball out wide. Now, he's got options just to come inside here. But if you look at Bruno's acknowledged the space. Now, he runs into the space, which dictates Gordon's pass. Because if Bruno doesn't make that run, Gordon just probably plays it inside. He turns out to his feet and then probably plays it to the right back. And then it's just side to side. And the play is really lethargic. But because Bruno busts a good to get into this area, Gordon then dips it over their defensive line. And Bruno gets into this position. So if I take it back, Bruno's run from here all the way into that space. And Anthony Gordon has a quality to find him. Now Bruno gets into this position. And again, another third man run from Joe Linton. Joe Linton moves between the two Bradford players. Bruno splits the pass and Joe Linton just takes a touch with his right foot, finishes with his left foot, and again a really impressive composed finish from Joe Linton. But I'll say it again, it's the third man runs that creates Bradford problems, because if Joe Linton doesn't move into that space, Bruno doesn't play the ball in that space. So again, it's the movement that dictates the pass. And the final few images, I just want to credit our desire to get forward, because we don't score from this sequence, but look at the hunger, the desire, the willingness to get forward. This is exactly what I want to see from Newcastle United, because unless you get bodies forward, you don't score goals. Now again, William Osula being positive, being direct in play. Now you've got to remember, this is when we're 3-0 up. We could have just went through the motions, been a little bit more lethargic in our play, but no, we're bright, we're positive, we want to score goals, and you can see the confidence just flowing through the side. Now Bradford did get back into it, and it was a mistake from Lewis Miley, but I think this is the only area that he did put a foot wrong, just a lack in concentration, and probably that lack of experience. But that one mistake doesn't really define his game last night. And then if we have a look at our last goal, what I like about William Osula's movement here, he's on the blind side of the defender. But what I like about Newcastle United in general, we've got 6 players in the penalty box. That is really pleasing to see. So yeah, I thought it was an incredibly professional performance from the guys. And I want to talk about Nick Woltemurder, because although he's a different profile to William Osula and even Johan Wissa, he is beautiful to watch, isn't he? You can see the quality in the guy, even when he comes on as a substitute. Now, if we play like that and have loads of third man runs, the big Nick is going to fit in so nicely, because his first touch is elite. His ability to bring others into play is elite. Now, granted, I need to be honest, we're not going to get that much time and space on the ball against the Premier League side, but this is why we need that movement to continue, because that's how you create that time and space on the ball. But not only did the starting 11 play well last night, the players that came off the bench had good cameos. And to be honest, if this is Big Nick when he's still trying to bed in, I can't wait until he actually beds in. But I was so pleased for William Osula. I thought last night he needed that. That was a big night for him, a big moment. Now, can he take that confidence, that level of movement into a Premier League game? And I just want to end on this. William Osula has more goals than our old number 14 and Benjamin Sesko combined this season. Even better, William Osula has more Premier League goals than our old number 14 and Benjamin Sesko combined this season. Surely that means you've got to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because I'm not nearly there, but we are on the road to 10,000 followers. So if you don't mind, just to get us in that algorithm, share this video, like this video, comment on this video, because I always say your opinion's just as valid as my opinion. But to be honest, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow is going to be an Arsenal preview, and I want to hear your thoughts as well. But until next time, away the lads.